was down by hops while I ran.
Okay, folks, we are actually live,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're going to get going. Everybody all set? Counsel? Lisa, you all good? Okay, I'd like to bring this meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councillor Moore.
He is actually excused. I would entertain a motion.
Make that motion. Second that.
All those in favor?
Thank you. All right, Councillor Robichaud.
Here.
Councillor Larishaw.
Here.
Councillor Lunt.
Here.
Councillor Fellows.
Here.
Councillor Smith.
Here.
Councillor Kane.
Here.
Perfect. Next item, please.
All right. First item is a budget workshop.
All right, so if the finance director wants to have a seat at the table, we're going to touch on the numbers for the changes in the budget from the beginning to today through the budget process.
Thank you, everybody.
Can you turn on your mic? Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So in your agenda packets for tonight were the council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. So in there, just wanted to touch upon the change from the previous town council meeting that is reflective in these council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. So in the general government budget under technology, we had removed out of the R&M equipment $70,000 that was slated for security cameras. And the hope would be that we would look for grants during this fiscal year, and if we can't find grants, then that would be put for the fiscal year 24 capital improvement plan for the security cameras in the town office. And then based on the last town council meeting with the addition of the SRO officer in our schools, that's going to be an increase on the public safety numbers for the police department. So overall, a total expenditure of $12,252,626 that will be offset by the $943,885 from the Portland Trust to give a net expenditure total for this municipal budget of $11,308,741, which is being balanced with a total of $4,794,415 in estimated revenues. And again, that's just the municipal side. The sewer side had no changes to it. So those numbers I will just list off, but again, there is no change to that. Sewer had an expenditure of $1,360,312 with an offset of $44,351, giving a total net expenditure of $1,315,961, which is balanced with a total of $1,497,120 in estimated revenues.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you, Kaylor. And we also have Ron Smith here. Ron is our auditor for the town of Lisbon. And if Ron could come up to the podium, and he's just going to give us, we've been speaking to Ron about an account that Lisbon has, and also about the financial health of the community. So we'll just give Ron just a moment to touch base on that.
Good evening. So yeah, I've had a lot of conversations. I understand you guys have made a lot of decisions going forward, and and that you used a significant amount of fund balance. And in talking to Kayla and Ryan, we're still confident when you land on 6/30/22. You're not probably going to have the 105 days of fund balance there, but you're going to have the good 90 days, which is the higher end of where you want to be. And able to mitigate some compensation, evaluations that you've been looking at and throwing, dealing with the math with that, and, and financially, at the end of 6/30/22, I really expect you to be just about where you were last year at this time, and that's above 90 days. So you're going to be hovering right around that, and that's after using that. So yeah. I'm not sure where we're going to be in 2 years, but I know with what you got for information available to you now, you put yourself in a good position, to be able to take a look in the mirror and, understand your business and, and be able to redirect some money to some much needed areas for this town. And I think after you're doing that, you're right where you're still going to end up needing to be on 6/30/22. So.
Thank you, Ron. Anything else to add, Kayla?
No, I don't think so. If anybody has any other questions on the council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, I'd be happy to address them as far as appropriated funds or carry forward amounts.
Sure. I mean, while Ron's here,
Yeah.
it's much appreciated you coming in tonight. It's always good to actually hear from the people that actually look at our books yearly.
Always here for you. And listen, there's a lot of people in the same position you guys are in right now. We got 2 weeks to the end of the year, and they just want to make sure they're landing a plane, and that plane's going to hit the runway that they think it's going to hit.
Good. And
So,
we've actually,
I'm with you.
with the new management team and with the finance department really working hard. I mean, there's been a lot of questions, but I feel really confident that we actually have a really better understanding right now than we probably have in a few years of where we are financially and how we got there and where we're going. And I think, with the understanding of these funds, we have a better plans of what we can do, as you mentioned, and moving forward and try to do it in a secure way that leaves us well guarded for long term, but yet actually using funds to actually help benefit many people in town.
And the other thing too, the other part we're not talking about, which is your biggest line item, is the school. School's in good shape too.
Yeah.
That's something that certainly needs to be recognized as well. And I think as that school goes, so does this town. Financially, and I think that that's a big piece that goes overlooked. And I think that Rick and Haley certainly and that school board have done a good job putting them in a position so that you don't have to go make ends meet to make up for other issues. They've done a good job.
That's good to hear. So as a town, we're well balanced at this point in time. The other thing that why you're right here, so we always have discussions about long term, especially if we right now our bond ratio versus what our net worth is. I mean it's always been known to be on the lower side. So we're in a pretty good area right now. What our long term debt is compared to what we're bringing in for revenues or what we have for equity. I mean, is that your opinion? Or?
Yeah. So I'll say a couple things to speak to that. I've been doing this for 30 years, okay? And the last time I saw what we're going through now, and it's not even comparable, back in 2008 when everybody remembers the era, all the stimulus money that got put into like reinvigorate the economy when we went through the collapse of the economy, and this stimulus that we're seeing now because of COVID. I mean, it's not even comparative. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I told you about 3 or 4 months ago, I think, when I was standing up here at this podium and talking, kind of the state of the town and the school, is that stay true to who you are. We are in times that are going to disappear. Things that you're doing right now are decisions that you're making for today and for tomorrow. There is about to be another release over the next, probably that you're going to read about 60, 90 days, of more stimulus money designed to put into infrastructure, into government. Build back America again. So where is that going? Stay to your plan. Stay who you are. Be careful. When this money goes away in the next 2 or 3 years, just make sure that you didn't live outside your means, that you didn't build programs, because back in 2008, I saw so many positions and programs go away, because of what they, thought, the vision that they had really didn't work out, with what that stimulus package looked like back, about 15 years ago. So same thing's going to happen in 2 years. And I think you've put yourself in a great position, especially even with some of the foresight to use some of your fund balance and still where you're at right now. Great. But there's some more infrastructure money coming this town's way and many other towns.
Good.
You got $450,000 of ARPA funds coming in another 60 days. Good luck spending that. I mean, these are all good things. These are all good things that are going to go away, just like they did 15 years ago. Be careful.
Yep. Yeah. Good advice. Any other questions from council while we have him here? He's a man of knowledge, and he actually does our audit. So if there's any questions that you feel...
Well, I have a question that a lot of the budget is built on the projections of revenue. What happens if the revenue projections are below what we're projected because of, say we have a recession or a change in leadership in Augusta, and there could be say you only get, $500,000 instead of,
And you
950,000.
and many other municipalities are going to be in the same boat.
I know. But I'm asking about what specifically for Lisbon, what would we look like? Would we be in a good financial position then if we don't make those numbers?
So the answer is, you always put yourself in a good position now to respond to that question you just asked. So you'll be in a much better position than a lot of your neighbors, that are around here that just haven't had the, I won't say the vision or the foresight, but just haven't had the means and ways to put the money set aside for your different. And remember, not only do we got that money, set aside for the rainy day, the town, we got money set aside for capital projects. We got money set aside in other areas of crucial need. So where am I going? For that day when you get that nasty letter like all the schools got about 12 years ago with curtailments with their education subsidies saying we're not going to pay you the month of June, you put yourself in a position for those days so that you can have a plan. And what's your plan going to be? Your plan's going to be, to come up with some kind of a, mitigating plan to offset and alleviate if they cut excise tax, if they do this, if they do that. They've been threatening to cut excise tax for 15 years. They've been threatening now to go for local appropriations tax for 12, and they won't pass it. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So that's always a real legitimate worry. I'm not going to sit up here and give you just some answer that doesn't exist. That's a real threat, and it's a real worry. I don't think it's a real threat and a real worry for the next 2 years because guess what? We're in a recession now for those that don't know, but you just don't see it because of all the money that's artificially being dumped into this economy right now. And you won't see it, in my humble professional opinion, for another 2 years in the chairs that you guys are sitting in right now. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, brace for impact. So.
And if I may add, in the department head report for the finance department this evening, my numbers are as of May 31st, and as of May 31st, our general government has collected 110% of our budget. So we're already where we ought to have been, and then some. So when we bring in June revenues, it would just be in surplus of that.
And I think some of the big things that would affect what this town does is the school. School's got all kinds of extra money coming in that they have a plan for, and that really takes the sting in the edge off you. Why? Because it's raised, I won't say with non-taxpayer dollars, but non-direct local taxpayer dollars. We're all paying for it, so there's a lot of things this town and a lot of other municipalities have going. We do, I think, like almost a third of all the municipalities in the state. But revenue problems are real. A lot of municipalities don't have spending problems. They got revenue problems, but we haven't seen them in the past 2 years because they've been mitigated and kind of skewed by all the artificial money coming in with COVID. So, and the same thing, think about it. You got $450,000, before you even start your year off, you got $450,000 coming in ARPA funds. The next round's right behind it. You got more infrastructure money coming. They passed that infrastructure Build Back America great, again, back in November. You haven't even seen that money yet. So I think that's, like I say, for the next 2-3 years, I'm not worried about the revenue problems. What I'm worried about is after that 3 and 4 years, no more skewedness. That money's going to dry up. What'd you do with it?
Yeah, use it for the.
Like I say, spend it wisely.
Yeah,
So I think you have.
Thank you.
You have.
Use it in the right locations and make sure you don't build your budget to the point where you won't have the funds
If
to pay
you've
for
got
it
to
later.
start building your budget with that money, in 3 years you're going to have a tough time, let me tell you that. You are going to have, I've been there back in 2008. I saw a lot of positions go away for schools and municipalities and county government. A lot of positions go away. So,
All right. Any other questions? We really appreciate your time, sir.
anytime you guys need anything, she knows where to find me.
We'll give you a call.
Thank you, Ron. Have a good night. Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to pretty much conclude our budget workshop, unless actually council has any other questions moving into the regular meeting about our budget. We have spent lots of time on it, and I actually just to say I did sit through the finance committee with Ray last night, and they actually went over the changes, and they actually voted to approve the changes also. I'm sure we'll be talking about that again. So it has been looked at in multiple different angles, and I think it seems like a very long budget season, but not a stressful one. You know what I mean? So. Not for me anyways, I'm sure it's for you and Caleb, but perfect. The next item then.
Next item is executive session. We have order 2022-143 per 1 MRSA section 4056C, acquisition of real property or economic development. We also have Order 2022-144 per 1 MRSA Section 4056A, Personnel Matters. And may I suggest that we move the executive session at the end of the meeting up to this one. That would add Order 2022-156 per 1 MRSA Section 4056D, labor negotiations.
Entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
All those in favor? We'll be going into the next room for a little bit for a few executive session meetings, and then we'll be back right out. Hopefully it won't take us too long.
Yeah, go on in. We'll do you first.
I'm going to bring Kayla with me.
Yeah.
All right, we're live. Council all set? And entertain a motion to come back out of executive session.
Make the motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
All right, next item, please.
Next item is good news and recognition. We have Order 2022-145, the 2022 Lisbon, Maine Spirit of America Tribute. We have a proclamation. The 2022 Lisbon, Maine Spirit of America Foundation Tribute honors Tony and Tracy Austin for commendable community service. A resolution by the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon follows. Whereas Tracy Austin has served on the Lisbon School Committee for 16 years, and whereas Tracy has served as the school committee chair for 11 years and served on 13 subcommittees, and whereas Tracy served as a key driving force in the facilities committee for the new gymnasium, and whereas Tracy volunteered for over 6 years with the Lisbon Athletic Boosters, dedicating countless hours to athletic and school-wide events, and whereas Tony Austin spent 13 years as president of the Lisbon Junior Athletic League, and whereas Tony recruited countless dedicated volunteers and oversaw the creation of the Lisbon Athletic Fields Complex, and whereas Tony coached numerous youth baseball teams, installing a sense of teamwork and positive attitude in the youth of Lisbon, and whereas Tony and Tracy Austin purchased, renovated, and preserved the historic Moxie Building property at 2 and 4 Main Street in Lisbon Falls, and whereas Tony and Tracy established Frank's Restaurant and Pub, creating a first-class local restaurant that pays tribute to the history of Lisbon and provides multiple local good-paying jobs. And whereas Tony and Tracy Austin used Frank's Restaurant and Pub to hold community fundraisers for several local and regional organizations, providing thousands of dollars in support. And whereas Tony and Tracy have been an instrumental influence in the rebirth of our Lisbon Falls Main Street region. Therefore, be it resolved by the town councilors of the town of Lisbon, with sincere gratitude and appreciation, that Tony and Tracy Austin are hereby recognized for their exemplary citizenship and outstanding achievements and honors brought upon this community with the 2022 Lisbon Spirit of America Foundation Tribute.
That's what we say, speech. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. It goes without saying that the community appreciates you and the council appreciates you and myself, and you guys have done a lot for the community, and I know Tony does not like recognition at all, so it's just great seeing him quiver over there, but you both really deserve it, so thank you for what you do.
Noyce Lawrence, as you know, many people have in years past have done a lot of the same thing, and it was interesting. One time he pulled me aside at one of the committee meetings, and he said, "You realize there's only 3 types of people in town, right? The people that do, the people that watch people do, and the people that bitch at what people do." He said, so you got to have the doers, because if not, things won't get done. So we do appreciate you are doers. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Next item are public hearings. Once the chair opens the public hearing, those present who wish to speak, please approach the lectern to address the council chair. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record. First item A, Municipal Budget Fiscal Year 2022-2023.
Actually open up that budget, that public hearing. It's on this year's budget. We've actually talked about it many times moving forward throughout the last couple of months, it seems, but if there's any questions from the audience, please step forward. Seeing no activity, we're going to close our public hearing. Next item, please.
Next item B, itinerant vendor for Red Barn Incorporated.
And I'll open that public hearing. Anybody here to speak on the matter? Again, seeing no movement, we'll close our public hearing. Next item, please.
Item C, special entertainment permit for Frank's Restaurant and Pub.
I'll open that public hearing. Seeing no movement again, we'll close that public hearing. Next item, please.
The next item is audience participation and response for agenda items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues that are on the agenda. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record.
And we'll open that session.
My name is Paul Griestock. I live at 57 Main Street in Lisbon Falls. I'm with three. We were here last meeting, and we're here to discuss the cannabis, the request for cannabis moratorium. I just, not to repeat things the last time, but I think rather you folks were really good to us. You appreciated us being here, and so what we did is we put together a petition to see what the interest might be in town for this action to kind of slow things down and kind of look at this issue. So I spent an hour in front of Food City, and I got 20 signatures, just like that. And I brought them. I just wanted you to know that I was very, I think, pleasantly surprised that people were supportive of the idea of slowing things down a little bit and taking another look. And rather than having 50 people here, I think you're going to find 50 signatures. And so I think it doesn't, I think we have to, people understood that it doesn't affect people who are already in town that are legitimate cannabis operations, and no one has an issue with that. But it's there was a sentiment that they're all over, and not just this town. A lot of people from out of town said, yeah, they're popping up everywhere, and it would be good to take a look. So maybe I can present.
Give it right to the chair.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. Yep.
So it was a petition to enact a temporary moratorium on additional cannabis businesses. So the petition read, because of the rapid proliferation of cannabis-related businesses within the town of Lisbon, 6 so far, and because plans for 2 additional cannabis-related businesses are apparently soon to seek approval from the town, a 90-day moratorium on additional cannabis-related businesses requested so the town council can assess the need for a cap on such businesses and be able to fine-tune existing regulations if the council sees fit to do so. Existing approved cannabis-related businesses are exempt from this action. And then it's just, again, we, the undersigned, our concerned citizen, urge our leaders to act now as to pass a temporary moratorium on the approval of all additional cannabis-related businesses. So, and again, this was in front of Food City, a couple hours. So I just want you folks to know, I don't know if people have called you in the last couple of weeks when this got out, but and I called the city of Bath. I've called other towns, and it's kind of, this issue is bubbling up because I think there is a sense of the difference between the general public in a libertarian sense finding no problem with people smoking marijuana, but now that they're seeing the number of businesses, they're looking at this issue in another light. And I think that's why there are towns that are looking at this I know Bath is looking at it, the town council in Bath, Brunswick, and other towns have simply opted out. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that'd like to speak tonight on something that's on the agenda? This would be your opportunity to speak on anything that's actually be coming before us tonight. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Andrew Tundo. I'm in Lisbon Falls. I just have are we going to, this is an agenda item, the marijuana business moratorium discussion. Is there going to be more opportunity for us to comment, or should we just say what we're going to say right now?
If you have any comment, it'd be the appropriate time. Would we do it now? Typically, we don't take much input during our discussion at that point in time. So I strongly recommend anybody have any recommendations or concerns to address at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'll just add a couple points to what Paul said. So I was one of the, he went out for about an hour. I went out for about an hour. Food City. I was there from about 7:30 to 8:30 at night. Not many cars. We got over 30 signatures. Could have gotten more. There's people we were missing because I only had one form with me. Probably, I think we got maybe 3 no's. Some people just walked by and said, I don't want to fill anything out. I don't want to talk to anybody. But anybody who I actually said what it was about, like I said, I got about 32 signatures. And, one guy looked at us and said, I want a marijuana store on every corner in Lisbon. But other than that, pretty much the same experience that Paul had. People were like, first of all, a lot of people were surprised to find out that we already had 6 operating in Lisbon. And there was just a sense that we kind of we have enough of these sort of businesses. And one thing I want to point out is that the diversity of types of people that we talk to, the demographics coming into the store, we had kind of senior citizens, we had families, we had some younger people, and we had the opportunity to have a few conversations with them, and they were, there's a range of people. There were people who told us about how they used marijuana themselves, but they still thought, okay, well, the use of space in Lisbon, we want some different things in the downtown. And 6 is a lot for a town of this size. So I just want to say it's not, make the point that it's not like one type of person, or even a person who has particular positions on using marijuana that we're talking about here. I think the concern was just the use of space and making a kind of accommodating community in Lisbon for all types of uses and people. So, and one other quick thing I'll add is that we did a little survey. It's very informal, but I think, again, evidence indicating that a temporary moratorium would be appropriate at this point. We did a survey on Facebook. I think we got like 28 or so responses just about what types of businesses would you like to see in Lisbon, and we had 21 different categories. And the survey was not put out like, hey, what do you think about marijuana businesses? It said nothing about this. It was, what would you like to see in Lisbon? And, things at the top were like farmer's market, bowling alley, bakery, things like this. We can show you the list. I mean, more cannabis was the absolute last item. Very few people said they wanted more of that. It was, the liquor stores and cannabis were at the very end of the list. So again, I think there's just some strong preliminary evidence that, a lot of citizens in the town would like to see an assessment of this moving forward. And we do think that a temporary moratorium would be appropriate. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Anybody else on any other items? Anything that's actually on the agenda?
So on the Sabattus Dam discussion, is that in this section? Or?
Actually, are you speaking upon the dam? Because we have that coming up. So, I mean, yeah. So if you want, you can wait till that particular discussion. That'd be fine. Yeah.
We need an agenda.
Thank you for asking, though. All right. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I just came in. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late. I just wanted to speak on the matter we're talking about right now.
Can you please state your name, sir?
Yes, my name is Christian Medor, and I live in Lisbon Falls over on Avery Street. My wife and I moved to the town about 11 years ago, and we've really enjoyed living here. We kind of feel like we're Lisbon people now, and we love the town. We love how it's grown. We love some of the businesses we've seen coming in. I'm here to talk about these other folks here, just some concerns we have about kind of developing the business district in a kind of reasonable and balanced way. I'm not against recreational cannabis use or anything like that, but I think we only have a finite number of storefronts in our town, and I think we would do well to look at diverse business opportunities so that our town has a healthy business sector. I work. I'm a builder. I build houses. I've worked in different towns, and when I get in conversations with people, they say, "Where are you from?" Lisbon Falls. A lot of people say, it's a great town. Boy, you got a lot of cannabis stores there. And I'm like, yeah, we do. And that's fine. It just kind of stops there. But there's kind of Lisbon's a cannabis town, and I think there's some high risks and potential negatives to having that association as a front runner for our business kind of district, because we've got a lot of other things going on that are great. Wouldn't want to see those overshadowed. And I think the other thing to consider, from my perspective, is just sort of the kind of environment we want for our families. I have young children, and I would like to try to, show them that this town is kind of has a pro-social kind of business, and kind of downtown culture. Our kids walk around downtown. It's a very safe town. It's a great town. But I think that we need to just sort of kind of slow down, think about this. And for the size of our town, I think we've got a lot of marijuana stores. I think I'd like to see that examined and the effects of that examined, and perhaps put a moratorium and come up with some ordinances that make sense going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else on agenda items? Seeing none, we're going to close that and move to the next item, please.
All right. The next item is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered routine and will be considered for adoption by one motion with no separate discussion unless a councilor requests an item be removed. Any councilor wishing to remove an item may do so now. Order 2022-146 to approve A, municipal accounts payable warrants, $597,024.61. B, municipal payroll warrants, $165,513.10. School accounts payable warrants, $134,167.72. School payroll warrants, $802,734.97. E, the minutes of May 17, 2022. F, to ratify election results. G, to set a public hearing for itinerant vendor permit transit cellar for July 12th for Andreas Adamson, the Southwestern Company. And H, renewal of victualler's license for Railroad Restaurant and Pub, special entertainment permit for Frank's Restaurant, and itinerant vendor permit for Red Barn Incorporated.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Next item, whenever you're ready.
Council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. Order 2022-147, the Lisbon High School Roof Repair School Capital Reserve Fund.
Get to put on a different hat. It's neat.
Good evening, different hat. Tracy Austin here for the school committee. In front of you is the request to use our capital reserve funds for the roof at the high school. It's the older flat roof. We are going to do some repairs on the old 50s wing, but we have that within our budget. But for this one, it's the large 70s wing. Those of you who are familiar, we consider them, that was the sophomore, junior wing. So with that, I had provided some information regarding state law as to repairs and how much that it comes to for whether or not we have to go out for official bids, that type of thing. In front of you is to use 90,000 plus I don't remember the exact figure. You have it in front of you. It's 90,000 something for that roof repair.
Perfect. Entertain a motion for discussion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you come up. I do have a couple questions if you don't mind.
Just voted the
Just voted for it.
Oh, sorry. I mean,
I will answer whatever you want.
I don't think we were going to not vote for it. How's that? And I did reach out just because on the town policy, typically anything over $10,000, we actually have to have 3 competitive bids. And I was just, for my own record, wanting to reach out to the school and find out what their policy is. And they do have some little bit different policies from what the town council works
Maine
with.
state law is 250,000, anything above that, and it specifies for repairs of building, that type of thing. And then if it's something different, it's 25,000, and there are certain information. I can read you what it says if you'd like.
No, it's fine. But just you had actually mentioned the idea that you had given it more information. So I just wanted to just clarify there. We did. I mean, it is always nice. I mean, one of the things that as the town always pushes out to when you have competitive bids, it actually gives you a comparative what one person versus another one is bidding out for the project. So,
yeah, we had time on the middle school roof, and it's actually the same contractor that's going to do it, the same type of material. We did do 3 the last time because we had the time. In our policy, it states if time is of essence and the roof needs to be repaired, you can go with with the company that gave you the estimate.
Any other questions, even though we already voted on it? No, go ahead. That's fine. That's my
I just
mistake.
wanted to know, what is a roof coating system?
Well, it's a flat roof, so in the old days, you used to just tar it back over. Now it's like a rubberized membrane that they put on it.
Okay, so there's no rubberized membrane now.
I believe it's the old tar.
Okay, so yeah, that's standard then.
Yeah. And we started just to show some real significant signs with all the rain we had this spring. And we did all that infrastructure work with the federal ESSER money. So we don't want to go backwards. And so the roof repairs are.
Rubber roofs are pretty common.
Yes. I believe what's on there is the old 70s tar. And, I mean, we've patched it here and there, but now it will have the entire encapsulated membrane.
Perfect. That's good. Thank you.
To clarify, I just want to make sure, we had a motion to authorize the school committee to utilize an amount not to exceed $90,600 from the school's capital reserve fund to pay for the roof repairs at Lisbon High School, and that order passed 6-0.
That was it.
That was it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Order 2022-148, approval for the AVCOG loan application.
Do you want to just do a brief discussion on this?
Yep.
I'm not sure.
Good evening. As discussed in executive session, we are offering a loan as recommended by AVCOG to a local business to help grow their business and should help them immensely.
Perfect.
That's not me.
Sure.
I'll make that motion.
You want to maintain? Would you like to make the motion, Don? Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. If you want.
I don't have it here.
You don't have it here? Yep. And basically it was a motion as presented, right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. We had a first. We had a second. All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Order passed, vote 6-0.
Wasn't sure if that's one you had written. Sorry, Don.
No.
I'll get with the rhythm here. Next item, please.
Order 2022-149, the request for an RFP for Parks and Recreation truck.
Hello, my name is Mark Stevens. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. Tonight I'm asking for permission to obtain quotes for a 1-ton dump body. It's proposed coming out of 2023 funding source, but I believe it's from an unassigned balance. Probably receive in 2024 or 2025 based on.
I was to say it's going to be some time out.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions?
pretty straight up.
Yeah, entertain a motion for discussion if needed, and we'll vote on it immediately.
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Perfect. All right, any discussion, any questions for Mark? So basically, in the past, you've always got second, third hand-me-downs, right? When we buy it used and it's used for its life.
Treatment plant trucks, public works trucks.
Green fire trucks.
That have no frames left. Yeah, we yeah. We still have a 1979 fire truck that we haven't in status. We use it.
And maybe you can just give it a quick purpose of what it'd be used for. And a lot of it's not just for the MTM or Beaver Park, but it's actually used for everyday activities, right? For doing the landscaping and
right. We do dozens and dozens of parks where we haul mulch, we haul soil, we haul compost for our gardens, and what we have been doing in the past was filling 50-gallon barrels, putting them in the back of trucks, and then bringing them to locations and emptying those barrels and then going back and getting more. So it's just efficiency. I can't imagine any parks in the state of Maine without a very effective dump body truck. So it's very much needed.
And lifespan, you think of the vehicle will be? I mean, how long have you kept your recycled ones? As long as they would go until you couldn't get a sticker, right?
From the first one we got from the state, which was a retired, it was one of the retired trucks from the state. I think I kept that for 7 years, and that was a 2002, I believe. I think this lifespan of this truck would be at least 15 years, the way we treat them, so we take good care of them.
Any other questions from council? And this is pretty much just to go out to bid to see what we have and see how soon we can get it, if it's going to be within next year or two. So, perfect.
Black, not marked the orange, right?
Well, I mean, we're asking for $50,000, and those prices are going up weekly. You know, even used dump body, one-ton dump bodies are more than that right now. So I don't know if we can get a dump without the body. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get the chassis without the body right now, but we're gonna go out there and give it a shot anyway.
Perfect. If there's no other questions, all those in favor?
Order passed, vote 6-0.
I'll stay right there.
I'll say don't go very far. Next item, please.
Order 2022-150, request for RFP for Parks and Recreation Utility Terrain Vehicle, the UTV.
What she just said. The permission to obtain quotes for to purchase a new UTV. We're asking for $11,200, and that's going to be funded out of the municipal budget that you already passed tonight.
Again, I'd entertain a motion for discussion.
Make the motion.
Second? Okay.
That sounds to me, Mr. Chair, that's like a very specific request. Did you have a particular model and make in mind?
No doors, no windows.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
44 horsepower. Where does that come from?
It's a sports. That's
it's
a 570 Ranger
from Woody's. We just got some ideas of what they were on the floor, on the show floors now, but they are stripped down models. Nothing fancy.
Municipal pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it's very.
It's a little bit more if you go there as general public.
Okay.
Could you describe kind of what the process is? Because you already have one right now that's actually they use for at Beaver Park.
Yes, we got that very used from the trail commission, and it's got a lot of hours on it. We've had a lot of repairs done to it, and what we do with that, if we decide to keep it instead of trade it in, we're going to put it over at Public Works so that we can access the trails in Lisbon Falls and get work done down there with that. And the one in Lisbon, the new one will be at Beaver Park. We have several miles of trails at Beaver Park with one of the trails, the longest trail is called Swamp Hollow. It's hard to navigate through that, but with a UTV, we can get through there with no problem.
Perfect. Any other questions? All those in favor?
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Order
sir.
passed, vote 6-0.
Next item, whenever you're ready.
Order 2022-151 to adopt the municipal budget and municipal capital plan as presented and waive the reading as it was just discussed by the finance director, if that's okay with the chair.
Now, this is just an order, so this can be just a regular vote. It doesn't have to be a roll call.
This will need to be a roll call vote.
Will need to be a roll call, just to make sure. Entertain a motion?
Make a motion.
Second? Second. So again, this is actually to approve the budget we've been working on for the last, how long has it been, Chief?
A while.
A long time, right? Several
months.
months. If there's no discussion, we'll actually move forward with the roll call vote. Anytime you're ready.
Councillor Fellows.
Yes.
Councillor LaRochelle.
Yes.
Councillor Lunt.
Yes.
Councillor Kane.
Yes.
Councillor Robichaud.
Yes.
Councillor Smith.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed.
And I just want to thank our management team and our financial team and all the department heads. There's been a lot of work in this year's budget, and I think we've actually kind of moved ourselves forward in many different ways. So, and the idea of keeping things pretty much on task for expenditures. So, thank you.
And all the committees. I mean, they all did a lot of work, a lot of hours. Great job. Great work.
And I'm not sure, Tracy, were you here earlier for our auditor speaking? I was not. And just want to let you know, if you were to look back at the tape, he actually said the school department is doing an excellent job, and financially, between the town and school, that we're in really good shape. So he did want to note that the school actually is in a really good financial situation this year also. So just so you're aware. It's always hear good things, right? Absolutely. All right.
Next is Order 2022-152 to award the bid for legal counsel.
I make a motion.
You second it? All those in favor?
All right. Order passed.
You want a more specific motion?
Specify what it is.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, I need the motions.
Yep. Actually, why don't we, you want to go ahead and read that? Appreciate that. We'll start over
You
again
put
on
the
that.
mic-
Okay, we're a little
Yeah,
quick.
that's,
Okay.
we didn't vote.
I make the motion that the Lisbon Town Council appoint Preddy Flaherty Law Firm as the new legal representation of the town of Lisbon, and furthermore propose that attorney Kristen M. Collins be the principal attorney for the town of Lisbon starting on July 1st, 2022.
I'll second the motion.
There you go. Are we all set, Lisa, just voting on that as we just did? It'd be kind of like a double
Well,
process,
I'm going to
but-
say that first we voted to vote.
I like it.
I like it.
Perfect.
And
That
have a
we
motion,
had
a second.
Now we got to vote on the motion.
Councillor Kane moved, seconded by Councillor Fellows, to appoint Preddy Flaherty Law Firm as the new legal representation of the town of Lisbon, and that attorney Kristen M. Collins be the principal attorney for the town of Lisbon starting on July 1st, 2022.
Any questions on that prior to voting? All right, all those in favor? See that warming up. See how we do that?
Order passed, vote 6-0.
Practice. Next item, please.
Order 2022-153, the Ferry Road Project update and request.
Good evening, everyone. Randy Sear, Public Works Director. I've got a little something to hand out to everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. So, as you know, we had the leftover funds from the Ferry Road project. And working with Kayla and talking to legal representation, we're able to use that money for anything leading up to or around the Ferry Road project. So I talked to the interim town manager, I talked to Ryan, and thought it'd be a good idea to give the village street a facelift. Basically what we're going to be doing, I was already going to be taking the position in the Public Works to redo the sidewalks. But when we started doing the sidewalks, we realized that all the curbing, granite curbing, is not backed by concrete. It's just basically set into gravel. And what's happening is in a lot of spaces it's already heaved. Out front of the old St. Anne Church, we had to reset all the curbing because it had all fell over, and there's clay underneath. So basically, that have to be dug out. And to reset the granite curbing, they basically pull it all out, just like they did on the first part of it, where we had new sidewalks installed, and they're going to back it with concrete, so it's more, it's a lot sturdier. And another part of the project, if you look down for the scope of work, we're going to be removing some of those trees that are encroaching into our sidewalks. And those trees have been overgrown, not really taken care of as far as being trimmed or pruned or whatever, to keep them at a certain height. I proposed to Mandy Oliver from Oliver Associates that we find a tree that doesn't exceed like a 14 or 15 foot growth and stays, at that height, and it's manageable. These trees also produce little, I'd say that they look, I don't know if they're crab apples or if they're actually like a cherry type of fruit. And in the fall, that gets all over the sidewalks, gets all over the cars, gets all over the pavement. Basically, those trees are going to be removed. There's a total of, I believe, what do they say, 27 trees to be removed? Or 17 trees, I can't.
15 is listed on there.
Oh, the 15 trees, yeah. There was more, but we ended up where I'm moving the sidewalk, the one that goes right next to almost directly out front of the fire station, heading towards Ferry Road. That sidewalk goes up towards the lawns, in which I would have had to take out a lot of those nice maple trees. And I'm not going to touch those. I'm going to move the sidewalk back down and be consistent with the rest of the road and put it right off the curb. And it'll be a lot better for winter maintenance, and we won't have to touch a lot of those trees. So if you look at the price breakdown, this was just an estimate from Oliver Associates, which, usually she's pretty high. The total budget estimate was $482,000. We have more than enough money left over from the bond that we already pulled on the Ferry Road project. I just feel that this would be money well spent, and to give that end of town a real good facelift. It's also going to be a mill and fill, so they're going to take 1.5 inches of hot top off and repave the whole road, restripe, new parking lot lines. Everything's going to be done. I think it's money well spent, and I'd like to get the council's permission to go out to bid for that.
Entertain a motion for discussion.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Any questions for?
Well, just to recap, we will be using money here that was left over from the difference between the bond and the amount of the actual bid for Ferry Road.
That's correct.
And there was considerable difference.
That's correct.
And our choices are with the bond money, we have to take the bond money, and our only choice with the money is to use it for that project or one right around it, or to pay the loan with that money. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the payback to loan is more of an interest base, not so much actually payback in the principal. I think and that's only a certain percentage, which still would not be the total amount of what we had left over.
We would be only allowed to use 3 fiscal years worth of interest payments. And talking about scope of work, when I had reached out to the bond counsel, we talked about what the original scope of work was and related to the Ferry Road project. And it was specific about the 2.5 miles of street, but then it had also listed and other related Ferry Road improvements. And upon talking to the bond counsel, we both were in agreement that this, where Village Street flows into Ferry Road, that this is part of that other Ferry Road related improvements to agree to that scope of work. And the bond counsel had suggested to give a projected new scope of work, which is what this will be. And I guess the next course of action for our part in relation to legal would be for the interim town manager, Ryan, and myself to draft a resolution to the current Ferry Road bond scope of work, and to then have council vote on that resolution after the bond council reviews it.
So what people would see is the idea of turning off of 196. So Village Street would be actually paved, and that would continue on the ferry. So basically from 196 to the corner beyond Brooks would actually be new pavement all the way through.
That's correct, except for the part where the sewer department from, it's basically a year, only 2 years old now, is there's a section that from the intersection at Pinewoods Road to Marshall Street that was paved during the sewer department project. That'll be the only piece that's, because it's only 2 years old, that'll be not fresh paved. But from that point down, yes, it'll be all fairly new.
And I didn't have a chance to look. Was the Village Street even on your list of roads paved in the near future?
No, not for a few, couple, 2, 3 years out.
And that road actually is in need if you start looking at some of the areas.
It is in need, yes.
I didn't realize, I drove it the other day, and that area from the railroad tracks down is towards 196 is getting pretty rough. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess one of the things that I consider is it's not whether we got to pay to pave it. It's if we do it sooner, we probably will get a better deal. So.
And the other thing too is everything in that down in that area, like Spring Street, Park Street, Federal, the one right behind
Park Street,
the one right behind the fire station. What is it, Franklin? Franklin. All those streets I just paved like within the last 2 years. So it's going to tie into a brand new paved Main Street or Village Street. So it's all going to look uniform. It's all going to look good.
Yep. The one thing I do ask before, as we've been in all our projects lately, it'd be really nice to touch base with the water department and the sewer department to make sure there's no infrastructure improvements that need to be done in that area. Because I don't think we've really dug anything up in that area in a long period of time. So if there is any future projects coming up that need to be addressed, it'd be a good time to do it prior to.
Nice not to dig it up again.
Not nice to dig it back up again. It's
right.
You know, I'm not sure if we reached out yet or not, but it'd be worthwhile. Good discussion, if nothing more.
Right.
And I know it's been an area of contention, but the street lighting on Village Street is some of that wiring under that Village Street. It's all within the sidewalk.
That's correct. Where it crosses at 196 in Main. I mean in Village Street, and then it crosses diagonal across 196. The only issue we're having right now is the one on the mill side where the snow blower picked up the wire. We got to actually cut that because we're doing the sidewalks right now. I told the electrical company we're going to cut the 2 feet into the sidewalks and then dig it along the sidewalk to jump that area because there's a break within that area that there's 2 or 3 lights down, towards the mill, going towards Napa that don't work. So Public Works is going to take and cut that piece, but we're trying to get the sidewalks done, which we should have done by Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Good. I just want to make sure any infrastructure that we need to do in that road.
All the rest of it's fine, all the way up through Village. We've got the new lights, the lights that we took down from the falls, those have all been replaced. All the bases have been fixed. All the lights in that area are up.
And all that, those lights, and I think there were lights within the brick sidewalk too.
Yep. Yeah, there was 4 right around there. Those are all reset.
Sidewalks will go.
Yeah, the brick sidewalks are gone.
Okay.
Yep, those will all be hot top.
One question.
Yes, sir.
How much money was available? I see a $482 or $1,000 rough estimate, but what's the money that's available?
The bond was a $2.8 million bond, which we've already received the funds. And I believe the Ferry Road bid was around $1.5 million.
That's correct, 1.5, left 1.2 million.
Okay.
So we still may have a possibility to pay down some of our interest even after doing
That's
the project.
correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. It'll leave like $700,000+ to pay down interest.
And the length of time that we actually have to actually use the bond money, is there any restriction on that?
Well, that's where it gets kind of complicated, where we talk about scope of work. So it had to only relate to the scope of work, or if you're going to use it for the interest, you only have 3 fiscal years to use that. But if the question of scope of work comes back up, I'm sure that you would be able to use it as the scope is detailed right now if we weren't going to use it all.
What's your plans? I mean, you're talking about the idea of doing sidewalks now and needing to be fixing some of your granite curbing. So, I mean, you're looking sooner than later to do this project part of it.
I'm looking to get it. I'm looking to get it done this year before fall, and so I think, in my heart of hearts, I think Northeast Paving, which has the contract now. Now, granted, we're going to go back out to bid, but I think because of mobilization and everything, and having the contractor already on site, they'll be able to jump right on that also.
That's part of the project.
I mean, I took out 750, 800 feet of, sidewalk within a day, so it doesn't take long. And then to get a company to come in back and reset a curb, I mean, I'm not a curb resetting guy, but I did some in a few hours. I set 100 feet, so it's not that hard. I think it would be definitely doable for this year. The sooner we get the bids,
The sooner we go out, the more information we'll have. So, any other questions, Counsel and Randy, at all? I think it's well needed up in that end of town. Hopefully, we can do anything we can to try to make it look new and improved. We'll have both of our main
Both sides of
streets.
town are going to look brand new, so I think it'll be great.
All right, all those in favor?
All right, thank you very much.
Order passed, 6-0.
I have 2 motions to read that you need to go somewhere.
Okay.
So.
I think this is a great opportunity.
They're both as a result of executive session, so.
I thought we had a place for those.
Well, I haven't found it yet.
Council Communications.
It's Council Communications. That's where it'll go.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Okay, you'll be all set, Don? Thank you, though. I appreciate you. Don't let us forget, right? Next item, please.
Next item is other business, council committee reports.
All right, the first one is actually the school committee, and that's me. I want to thank everybody that went out to vote, and it was a positive vote for the school budget, which is good. And as we heard tonight, there's more improvements happening with the school, which has always happened, which is good. And I think in the last few years, actually, I'd say there's probably more that's happened in the last 3 years, probably, Tracy, than has happened in the last 30. Is that almost safe?
Not visible, mostly the infrastructure.
Yep, perfect. All right, next item, planning board.
Planning board meets Thursday, and among a couple other projects, they may have some discussion about the sign ordinance.
Perfect. Lisbon Development Committee?
Ross is here. There's a lot going on right now. He's really putting a lot of time in, a lot of work in. He seems to be doing really a great job.
Do you want to give a quick update, Ross?
Sure. We're not meeting for another couple of weeks, but we are working to finalize the plans for the Masonic Lodge, make sure we figure out that sprinkler problem. Still waiting to hear back on them. We're working on a banner project, which will bring some combined life to both parts of town, similar banners that will connect the two areas of town together. And then I understand the Warumble discussion's been pushed off to July, so we're preparing for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Conservation Committee, and Mr. Moore is not here tonight. Park and Recs. Mark actually spoke earlier a little bit about what's happening.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Ms. Ma'am, excuse me. Yeah.
Would now be a good time to assign someone to the Recreation Committee, since we don't have one just yet?
It would be a great opportunity if we had someone that was willing. If not, we can actually think about it, and actually at our next meeting come up with a plan on doing that, which may be a better opportunity so people can assess what they already have for committees and get the information when they meet to make sure they're not double duty.
Sure.
That will work. Budget Committee, I don't think there's actually nothing yet that's coming up. And Library, Mark, I mean, muzzle.
Nothing new to report.
And Water Commission.
Nothing new there either.
And then Finance
They did
Committee.
meet the other day, but I don't have anything new.
Yeah, Finance Committee.
Finance Committee, we met last night. They approved the budget, as we all know. And they asked if there's things that they could do for us, so, which was very positive. So if there's something that we're thinking about having them work on, they're more than willing to. So
perfect. And I think we have some ideas for them moving forward. So perfect.
Yep.
I think one of the ideas that was brought up was to look at the financial controls and evaluate those policies and stuff, since that's something that they could dig into.
Absolutely, yep. If we have willing people, we definitely want to take advantage of it, right?
Absolutely.
Next item, please.
Next item is the town manager's report.
Okay, so one update is, in speaking to McGee Construction and DOT, they are going to open up Main Street for Moxie weekend, that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That will be open up 2 ways for traffic, but it's not going to be paved by that point, so there's still hazards and gravel. So the idea moving forward is still continue with the parade route as planned by the Moxie committee to go up 196 and end at Crafts. But having the road open 2 ways is certainly going to help out, allowing the businesses that weekend with all the traffic to be able to make it to the Main Street businesses, because there'll be a lot of people that come to the community that week, so I think that's good. Second thing I'd like to report is the Blues Festival went great. From what I heard, with some improvements that can be made for the future, of course. Actually, is Ross still here? Did he leave? Yep, Ross is here. Actually, since you got to attend, I wasn't fortunate enough to be able to attend. Quarantine guidelines and everything, I had to stay home, but
Understood. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Ross Cunningham again, Community Development. It was a fantastic weekend by all measures. The businesses that I've spoken to that were directly involved easily made several 100% off their normal Saturday. And some of them made money that will sustain them this summer when they weren't going to make it because of Main Street. So the group was a great group to work with. Obviously, with any new festival in a new community, we've got some wrinkles to iron out before we talk about doing this again. But I got to tell you, I saw Councilor Robichaud over there slinging burgers for 8 straight hours behind a grill over there, and it was a wonderful day with great turnouts on all parts and a really energetic feeling downtown. It was nice to see it again. So thanks to all the folks who put hard work in on that.
Yep, and may I ask, will there potentially in the future be more of a detailed results of the weekend as far as...
Yes, thank you very much. I hope to do a full presentation at the July meeting with actual numbers and attendance and that kind of stuff.
Perfect.
Maybe even pictures.
That'd be cool.
Live music? No? Too much? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
excellent. And just to reiterate what the chair said, I'd like to thank all the department heads and especially Kayla Tierney, our finance director, but everybody working for the town and helping put this budget together, including all the committees, because it is absolutely a team effort. It's not something one person can do. And there was input by not just the department heads and committees, but also community members, and being interim town manager, but also chief of police. I really loved seeing that teamwork from everybody. So thank you to everybody that was involved with that, because did an excellent job. And that's all I got.
That's all you have. And just working off the manager's report, we actually asked the interim manager 6 months ago to come in and actually hang out for a few months and help us out. And a few months have turned into 6 months, and basically his initial contract is actually ending very soon. With that being said, we've asked, and he's willing to extend his contract, because we are in the process of getting ready to do town manager interviews and moving forward with that process, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'd make a motion that we extend the interim town managers for an additional 6 months starting July 1st.
I need the first and the second. Okay.
Yeah. All those in favor? And just to let you know, we're totally thrilled with the help we've had, and we appreciate the first 6 months very much. And I think our town's in a better place for it. So we do thank you for everything you've done. So
should be a cakewalk now since we have an assistant town manager.
That's right. We get assistant town manager here, and actually things are moving forward. I think in the last several months there's been a lot of nice improvements, and I think it's part of the whole management team, and hopefully from your leadership we can keep moving forward. So thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to have you stay on. I'm not sure what we would have done without it, so I guess it's actually good. So
thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is the department heads' written reports.
And everybody hopefully had a chance to read them. A lot of things happening. Is there any comments or questions from the reports? No. And I did notice Mark take off? Yeah. So it was a request to actually get some of the reports actually up online. And I've seen that some of that's been posted, so it's actually nice. It would be nice for the community to actually see the reports that we get, because it does lay out what the town departments are doing and there's a lot of stuff going on, so it is good information to have. So
Until that's up and running, I just want to remind folks that we do upload those reports along with the agenda packets. So that information is available as part of that packet. You just have to scroll through it. But anyone who's interested, it is there.
that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Next item is the marijuana business moratorium discussion.
All right. Last meeting, we actually had a group of people come forward and actually were asking the council to actually look at potentially of a moratorium. We didn't have a whole lot of discussion that night. We did have some brief discussion. There was a couple councilors that actually, voiced their concerns, and on the same level, hearing from some of the citizens in town. Since then, I mean, some of us I know have actually talked and had some discussions about it, and I would just like to get a feel from the council. What we would need to do moving forward is if there's enough momentum or interest in the council, we would actually have to legally get a moratorium written. We actually have done some research through the departments, actually looking to see what other communities have written and what they've done. And again, that would be more of a guide that we would use, but still legally we would have to have our own written so we can actually vote on a moratorium. All the stuff does take a little bit of time, but I'd be more interested in hear from councilors to see where we move forward.
Mr. Chair, I believe it was Harry and I who said that we were interested in hearing more about doing a moratorium. I'm in favor of doing that. However, I don't want to hurt anyone who now exists or who may soon have a contractual obligation with something going on already. I realize that a moratorium is not an end. And 90 days later, something else can happen, or 180 days if it's extended. But I'm in favor of establishing something to see where we are, to see if we in fact do want to put some limits out there, or some other
guidelines.
Elements, yeah.
I think there'd also be value in polling the public, and we've got the signatures in one way that I'd like to see, do like a survey monkey and try to, get more public feedback on, how does the public at large feel. And I would support a 90-day moratorium just to, have some time to work on it, as long as it allows people that have already applied to, continue through the process, or existing businesses obviously are grandfathered and wouldn't apply there. But, to slow the roll for new businesses while we do have more discussion of it, I think would be a reasonable idea.
Sure.
Well, I'm against it. I think there's an opportunity for anyone to have any type of business in Lisbon. They're more than welcome to have that. If there's available space, they have just as much right as anyone else to rent or buy. I think starting to restrict people from, having a business, making a good living, where does it end up stopping? The state did pass it. It is legal. There's rules. The ones that have it are following the rules. I know some ex-police officers that actually have jobs that they monitor. They get paid. They check them out.
Still the chief of police.
Yeah, but since you came the last time, I actually talked to one that actually has that job, and he says they're actually run very well, and they're run by the state guideline. I have no interest in it or out of it. I don't spend on it, but I do believe restricting businesses is not a good behavior, right? Where does it stop, right? I mean, again, they're following all the rules. The state has allowed it to be here. It's everywhere because it's allowed, right? Before it wasn't allowed, they were selling it in the basements, right? So it's where it is today, right? It's on TV, it's everywhere, right? So I don't know how to hide that, right? Where does it stop, right? You stop it from being on ads on TV. I don't know. Can't be in the papers. I mean, so I'm not one for to restrict something. So I think everyone has the same opportunity to be successful in Lisbon, whether you're selling vacuum cleaners or steaks. Someday we'll have a, you know, Texas Roadhouse here or something, right? But
Hopefully, right? Or you flip burgers.
so I'm not in favor for it.
Perfect. What's your thoughts?
I'm of kind of dual minds. I think I agree from an economic standpoint as far as, like, you know, it's legal and it's capitalism, and without applying any kind of ethical judgment about it one way or the other, let economics shake it out. But I also think, looking at the big picture, regardless of what the product is, looking at the economic development position of the community and a diversity of businesses and things that would draw people to visit multiple establishments is going to be better for the economy than all of the businesses being one thing that people come one and done and they're not spending time in the community. So I'm open to discussion about it.
I'm going to recuse myself.
You can recuse yourself on that one, which is fully understandable. Myself, I mean, as chair, one of the things we look at is anytime we have citizens come in with a concern. It doesn't happen very often, but when we do, we always listen. And I've always said, you know, a lot of people say that the town council doesn't listen, and I always use the statement that I've never seen a situation where people have come forward with a reasonable, honest discussion and have the town council not act on it. It's never happened, you know what I mean? And I don't see this as being any different. There actually are a couple councilors that actually voiced the same concern. I've actually heard from the public. So, I mean, I'm kind of a free business type of person also, but at the end of the day, I think it would be a good time to actually get people of town educated and have the discussion. And how it shakes out at the end, I think, is going to be, you know, a decision compiled on a lot of information, right? So, typically we don't have a lot of input, so when we do, we want to make sure we listen. And how we go about that. The hardest thing we got to do is, if we do a moratorium, is the idea of what happens within that 90 days, right? You know, how do we go about it? Do we form a committee to actually look into it? It may not be something the council itself does directly. You know, I think those type of discussions need to be had before we make a moratorium, just to make sure we just don't put something in place and not have the tools to actually be able to properly vent it, right? And how do we do that? It was a long process when this first came forward, and the town actually spent a lot of time, not just on the council level, but the planning board issues. We probably made a lot of enemies through that process because we had stuff go back and forth, and just about time we thought we had it figured out, the rules got changed, and we had to go back and regroup, and that just didn't happen once or twice, and that happened over a 2-year period that was pretty contentious, and we actually had people that were really willing to, just like now, you know, really wanted to come into Lisbon and actually, you know, invest in town and actually do right things and not do anything wrong. So I don't have any, you know, I don't have any evidence of anything bad happening from the businesses that are here. But I do understand that anytime we have people that have a concern, that we ought to address it, right? So let's, I'm in favor of a moratorium. We would actually have to get one written up legally, and how that's, I know we've actually already done some of the work.
When's our next meeting?
It's in July.
July 12th.
So we've got a month.
Not quite a month, but yeah.
Well,
a few
about
weeks.
that,
Yep.
if one was brought up, so that gives some time to think about a process.
Yep.
To get more input, or to get some kind of action or something going on before it's enacted.
Yep. Yeah,
and I think we should be careful about the wording in it so that we don't hurt anybody.
Exactly, and I think there's as much as easy as a moratorium is to get written by legal, I think, again, I just want to make sure that we actually have a plan well written in place of who's going to look it over, you know, what the criteria is going to be, who's going to be involved, and what the end game is, right? After 90 days, do we, is there some type of action that we're trying to do, you know, and I'm not going to put this on the planning board because we've beat them up bad enough in the past on this, you mean, and I think the result of the discussions, if something needs to be changed, could be, you know, have the planning board voice their concerns and interests at the end, but I think it definitely needs to be a group of citizens and council and people from the community and potentially, you know, the business owners of some of the people that already have interest in it, just to make sure that we're actually serving everybody and to make sure that everybody's voices are heard, and at the end of the day, we make a decision that's actually based off not just our opinions, but actually the opinions of the people that, you know, that actually make up this community, you know, so.
I think you would want to have a representative at least of somebody on the planning board, because there's a lot of ways to manipulate things within the ordinances that can make things better.
Right, if you want to limit it, say, by number per area, to say in downtown there can only be 3 businesses, and then there can be
there's a lot of
somewhere
ways
else.
you could do that,
Because there's a broad discussion. I mean, there's multiple categories, and the idea of storefront's only one of the categories. So when you're listing 6, it's actually, it's not necessarily representing just the active storefronts. It's actually, there's a lot of different levels on it. So I think we just got to be careful of how we actually look at all of them. You mean if it's just the storefronts we're looking at, or if it's actually the other entities that come along with it. So again, I think it's a good discussion. Like I say, I want to encourage people from the community, if they have concerns, to come forward, and we don't want to discourage that. So as far as I'm concerned, I would vote to actually move forward with it. I'm not sure if the council wants to make a
I don't
recommendation.
think we have to vote tonight, do we? We just agreed to go get one written.
Have legal
Yeah, I mean,
to draft something.
A vote's not necessary if the discussion is to have, the vote will come at the next meeting.
Yeah. But I would definitely want to get a straw poll, and I think we've already got it from the council as far as
straw poll,
to actually at least, because
I think we need direction. I would need direction as the interim town manager from the council, saying to move forward and work with the assistant town manager to work on a moratorium proposal, if that's what the council wants for the next
If you want a motion like that, I'll make the motion.
yeah, I'd love to. I mean, town manager Glenn, if you have anything to add, that'd be great.
Just informational.
Can you turn on the mic?
Yeah, just some informational stuff. So I was doing some research on moratorium ordinances, and there is limits to the statutory authority of the governing body. So Maine Municipal just strongly recommends that you talk to your council before doing it, because there are limitations on duration and the difference between rate of growth ordinances and moratoriums. But under Maine state statute, if you do it, you just need to establish that it meets 2 criteria, either to prevent a shortage of overburdening public facilities, or because existing plans or ordinances or regulations are inadequate to prevent public harm. So there are legal criteria that I am not an expert on, and we should probably just consult with council if you want to draft a moratorium and what the limits of the moratorium would be.
Then I guess I would actually look and be for a straw poll of a recommendation to the interim town manager to work with our assistant town manager to actually see what a draft of the moratorium would consist of.
Yeah, so the only examples I could find they weren't related to marijuana specifically, but Durham and Arundel have done them in the past for different growth-related issues. So I can circulate some information to the council on behalf, or Ryan can do it on my behalf.
Yeah, and just to be aware, I mean, for council, I mean, nothing goes away without no cost. I mean, just the idea, we have to be fairly committed to this, because, I mean, this could be not a cheap venture. Just the idea of us getting council to work on a moratorium could cost us $2,000 or $3,000 quite easily, just to get the format of it, not so much even get to finalize. So this isn't something that goes away. It's more than just discussion. It's actually, as soon as we get to this next step between using our staff time with council, it actually comes with a dollar value. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that when we go forward, that it is resources being used. And I have no problem committing it, but it's just more the idea we all got to be in favor of allowing the assistant town manager, the interim town manager, to actually move forward and use staff time and test out our new legal representation, I guess, right? See how that works. Yeah. I think I have a pretty good idea. No one's really changed their mind from where they originally stood. So I assume that we basically have a majority that actually says, let's go ahead and at least bring it up to that next stage, and then we'll go from there. And don't fade away on us. Make sure you actually stay tuned. So, any input is going to need to be, and I'm sure we'll be reaching out to you folks once we do that to try to get some input. Is that kind of where you think we ought to be? I want to make sure that your time here is served. Come on up.
I guess first of all, I think we've all had enough dissension in the world in general. Nobody wants a fight. We don't want to fight. You guys don't want to fight. And it's not about fighting. It's really about something else. It's about calmly taking a look. And I think what I was hoping for was a commitment and a vote, because that's really what you need. A vote to say, yes, we agree that we need to stop and take a look. And I don't think this would affect, and I'm assuming that you could make sure this would never affect anybody that's already approved. There's no fight with anybody that's here. It's the future. And I think you have the power right now to just say, we want to kind of stop and take a look. And even people who are in the pipeline, because I'm concerned tomorrow if somebody's even thinking about it, they're going to be in the pipeline. And then we're going to say, well, they're in the pipeline.
And I do respect your concerns. The hardest thing as a council, I mean, we only can work and vote on stuff that's actually active and that we have. We can't vote on a moratorium that's not written, and legally we can't actually make a decision tonight to actually restrict any businesses without actually having that place. So I wish it was that easy, but unfortunately it's
You know better than I.
State law requires it to be written.
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately.
Mr. Chair, I think we can make a vote to proceed towards a moratorium.
I think that's kind of the direction we were going, I think, but I'm not sure.
That's got to be an official vote if we're going to do it.
But that's a vote, and I agree. I think there's something that's solid that puts you on record to say we agree that we're going to go in that direction. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
And if the vote comes up in a way that you don't want at this point in time, no.
It goes.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure ahead of time.
We also have to acknowledge that
I think we're treading thin water, right? There's so much that we don't know, right? And I'm a little uncomfortable. We don't know what we don't know, and we could end up finding that there's a lot of legal matters that we need to get educated on. I think I think we need to be careful.
I'll make a motion that we direct the staff to work with legal counsel to draft a moratorium regarding the marijuana businesses in town or cannabis businesses, new businesses in town.
So you want to actually...
I'll make a motion.
Want to make it more official.
Make an official vote.
All right. So basically the motion is to pretty much do what we agreed earlier, is actually to use the staff resources to actually bring forward a moratorium and actually look at the legal goods and bads of about doing it, right?
Right.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstain? We got a variety tonight, so.
So the order passed with 5 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 abstention.
Four.
It was 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 4.
Yeah. It's
I'll
late,
go
it's
back
not
to
even
school.
that late, right?
Creative addition.
That's right. It all works, right?
All right.
We're actually definitely, we're listening to you, so hopefully you feel that we're definitely trying to work what we could. Unfortunately, as you find, the wheels of town and state and federal turn very slow at times, but definitely there are people listening to your concerns, which I think hopefully you understand that.
Folks have been great. We really appreciate the respect that you've shown us.
Yep.
Just for you aware, behind the scenes, the assistant town manager and myself have, listened to what you said at the last council meeting. I have put some time, quite a bit of time actually, into looking at what other communities are doing and moratoriums and whatnot. So there's actually been a lot behind the scenes, but we haven't been able to find one that's been done yet. So that's why, and we're in between legal counsel, so getting legal will certainly help.
As you noticed tonight, we voted on a new legal starting soon, so that's gonna be starting tomorrow, in the sense that that process will be a little bit better. So, thank you. I appreciate you coming in. So,
Next item is the Sabattus River Dam discussion. I think Mr. Craig is here from the inland fisheries.
Yep. Perfect. Come on up.
Main
Well,
fishery.
We've actually had you folks in a couple times to speak about the project.
Yeah, good evening and happy summer solstice. So my name is Scott Craig. I represent the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, part of the Department of Interior. And I'm here to talk about a potentially funded stream restoration project that is funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act. My office has been authorized to seek funding to the Atlantic Salmon Federation and partners. The state partners include Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, Department of Environmental Protection, and the Maine Department of Marine Resources to remove the partially breached Upper Town Dam that is located immediately upstream of Webster Road Bridge in Lisbon. And the goal is to restore the natural river channel. So that's why I'm here, specifically about the Upper Town Dam. So I am inquiring regarding to the National Environmental Policy Act that ensures federal agencies include public participation in planning and proposed actions that inform the public about potential projects. So I am seeking your input on the Upper Town Dam in Lisbon to hear your comments or concerns about this for my documentation into the National Environmental Protection Act. And just to let you know, there is a mechanism that I can use for NEPA that uses a programmatic approach for this. This is a small project that fits under a programmatic environmental impact statement because it fits the two criteria of the amount of sediment and the type is minimal. The stream channel is going to be restored to the original stream channel, and based on the documents I got from Maine DEP, there are no contaminated sediments that are going to be liberated that are going to be significant. When I can check those boxes off, it provides me a really easy way to do NEPA. But I would really like to hear you guys' comments and concerns about the Upper Lisbon Dam, the removal of that.
Could you just take a second and actually explain what you had just referred to? You basically saying that if you check the boxes, you can make the decision based on those?
Correct. I just need to address public comments and concerns about the project. So if you guys are completely opposed to the project, I might have to do an environmental assessment, which will require other public forums to address stuff. So, if possible,
I don't want to take it as a threat because that's the way it's coming across. That's all. From multiple discussions, it seems very much like the Mill Street project. But I don't want to go there. So, and again, last time you were in, we actually gave some pretty detailed instructions of what we wanted, and it's very much what you're asking for. Just it's been several months and no action has been taken on that. So, I didn't mean threat, but it just sounds like you're actually saying I got a strong arm on this side, but I'm willing to listen to you guys talk, but yet at the end of the day, I'm going to do it my way anyways, which comes across very hard for a state agency that we pay for, that's all.
If I could step in just for a moment
Sure.
and clarify. So Casey Clark with Maine DMR.
Yep.
What Scott is doing tonight is going through the permitting process.
Yep.
He's not promising that the dam will be removed. That still is up to your discretion
Yep.
and your permission. So that doesn't change anything. What he's asking for is the public feedback on his piece of the permitting process.
But with the process that if he don't like what we say, he can actually do it himself. And that's kind of what we took. I mean, maybe I misread that altogether.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what. I mean, if we sit here and say we don't want the dam removed and it doesn't happen, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. You own it. We own it. I mean,
okay.
So
that's good. It just maybe I took it wrong, but just the approach
now,
was different. That's all.
There are means that I don't want to go down and won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think our only concern, well, I won't say only, one of my concerns was, and it's always been, the river level dropped precipitously earlier, or it seemed to be, at least the banks narrowed. What's the removal of the dam going to mean? Yeah. And I think we talked about that before, but we never had really clear understanding of what that meant.
Yeah, and our last discussion, basically what we were really hoping for is more public input. That's what we wanted. We actually wanted the members that own property up the edge of the river and the public to actually have an open discussion, a workshop where they could actually ask the questions, get the answers. And the only reason this comes across is we actually had another project that was done just down the road that we really didn't have any of that input. Basically, we were told that wasn't our property, so we didn't have any input on what happened. And it greatly affected some citizens that live along the river. And as a council, we got beat up for a long time after, people coming in and complaining or just stating, how could we let this happen in our community? Unfortunately, we didn't let it happen. So that's why we come across the way we do, is because last time a project went and it served the needs of the project, but it didn't serve the needs of the people in the community that we represent. And, we had a gentleman that actually came in and threw stuff on the floor and basically said, I've been living here my whole life. I used to canoe down that every week and pick up trash. And he says, now I got to carry my canoe over certain areas through the mud because there's not enough water in the river for me to do what I've been doing for a good part of my life, which is hard to actually explain why that could happen or how it does. And again, we just want a balance, right? We want good things to happen. We want things to return back to where they were. But on the other hand, we want to be able to do it in a way that the community is informed. The last time the river dropped, when it got partially breached, that changed. We had wedding venues up the edge of the river that now basically have a wedding venue on the end of a swamp. You know what I mean? So and again, that was no fault to anybody. It's just one of those things where every action we do has some type of reaction, and we just want to make sure this next phase doesn't actually change things that we can't reverse, which we probably won't right at that level. It's going to be a permanent solution, and we just want to make sure it's right. And our job is to actually make sure that everybody in the community is represented. And I'm not going to make that vote, nor we just seen things react differently in time. We want to make sure it's right. That's why we asked last time to make sure that we had pretty much what you're asking for. So this discussion's already happened, but it just really hasn't moved forward from there. That's all. That's my take.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, council member. So as a part of that, and I'm here tonight to present that I'd like to propose a date in July, which is on the sheet that I've given out here.
Yeah.
And I'd like to send out this packet of information that I provided to the council members, to the residents that are adjoining the river.
Yep.
So we can directly invite them. I'd also ask if we could put this on the town website so it's available for the rest of the public to see as well.
Yeah.
And that date is July 20th, Wednesday, July 20th is a temporary date, and I put it out there as temporary before sending it out because the town council would prefer a different date. I'm happy to change that date as well.
Do you can I ask?
Absolutely.
Do you need to hold that meeting outside at this lot?
I don't have to, but because that's the site we're talking about, I always feel that it's a little bit easier to do that. Again, if you prefer me to have it inside, I'm happy to do that too, or I can do both.
Have a backup in case of bad weather, if it's thunderstorms or something, people don't want to come out.
It would be nice. And people are pretty visual today. It would be nice to actually, we do actually have low technology in the room now compared to what we've had in the past, where we could actually bring up some information.
Sure.
And I think the number one questions people are going to say is, what's this going to look like when we're done? And if you can actually have some type of documentations and information that could be shared and actually well addressed, I think that's really important, And
Absolutely.
And it's not that we're against it. It's just one of those things where we want to make sure that things happen without. We're only 7 people, and we represent several thousand, so we want to make sure that the people that actually are out there can get a feel for what's happening, what's not going to happen. And, one thing that we don't want to do is just say, you can do this, but this is going to happen anyways. We want to make sure that the process you're going to bring forward is actually a process that works for both of us. And we don't want to come across as people not to easily work with, because you're going to find we really are. But one thing we do is protect our neighborhood. So, it's really hard for us to actually have people come in and not serve us correctly, and that's what we want to make sure we represent, and hopefully the people where you live do the same thing, because everybody wants to know what's happening in their backyard, right? So.
Yeah.
I have a question. Have you guys done any more surveys of the water level and how far upriver it would fall? What would be the impacts on that? Because I know last time we didn't have any kind of a diagram or anything. I think for the people that are going to come out and ask, what is going to do to the river right next to my house, that's a big thing, and I think that would, how far upriver is it going to make a difference? Is it going to be, just 500 feet, and then it'll be, it won't make any difference beyond that point, or is it going to be all the way to the border with Sabattus? So I think that would be helpful to have a big, graph you could show people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do my best to do that. I will tell you that, Commissioner Lent, that it's difficult to do that for a small river like this.
I totally understand that.
And I've asked, DEP actually does a lot of surveying for this type of work in different places around the state. and they use a small jet ski to do it. And they basically said, like, we're not putting a jet ski in that river because we think we'll just hit rocks. So it's hard to do it in this area. But the one thing that we do have that's a good tool for us here is that FEMA's done good flood mapping in the area, so it really shows where that area of the impoundment for the dam used to be. And it really shows that where that impoundment used to be was starting right at the dam moving upstream, and that's where the increased flood risk is. And so we can see how far upstream that goes and where it used to go. Back to Councilmember Fella's question, or excuse me, Robert's question. Fella's question. The question about what the river is going to look like after the dam is removed, it's basically very close to what it's going to look like after it's removed. That the initial breach really let go all of the ponding that was happening there. Now we see more of a normal river, except for when it rains, it really comes up quite a bit more. And so removing the dam is going to remove that sort of constriction equivalent of sort of, a thumb over a hose when it rains a lot. But right now is sort of the low level we'd expect. We don't really expect it to drop significantly more than where it's at.
So you had mentioned one time that you're going to move it down to the bedrock. So I mean, you can get a pretty good idea where the bedrock is now by actually doing the engineering on it, right? And I would assume that when you come to present that night, you actually have some type of, layout of what that dam site would look like when it's actually all done.
We have that, and we've provided designs to.
Yep, they're going around.
Okay. Yep. Perfect.
So,
yep. Just for that night, so if people ask, and they'll actually have a good. As of right now, do you actually see any concerns with that date? Actually, I'm not sure if it actually overlaps or anything that we actually already have planned or not. Is that something we can have an ongoing discussion and make sure that that date's going to work? And I'll have.
If I could just follow up with Councilor McGee about
Absolutely,
confirming that date afterward, that'd be terrific.
Yeah, no, he is actually, he wears.
Getting new jobs.
Now he's a town council.
So you either can call the police chief if you want, or you can actually call interim town manager.
I'm actually out of state that day, but if my assistant town manager's here,
Yep.
we can have him attend it.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure. We'll see if we can accommodate. I'd like to do it sooner than later because I'd like to see what you need to do happen. It's just a matter of making sure that we have everybody informed. And to me, it's not going to affect my backyard, but yet there's people. Excuse me, 1 minute. We actually had.
It is. We just purchased a property on it, so I just have a question. With the dam letting go, I noticed FEMA and the flood map never redid the levels. So if this is releasing even some more, will you be petitioning FEMA to change the flood map areas?
Yeah, so the question was whether we're going to actively pursue updating the information for the FEMA flood labs, and absolutely. We see that the impact of being in a flood zone that doesn't exist anymore is just an annual insurance cost and risk cost to the public. So that's one thing that we're actively seeing as something we can do for the town.
Any other questions from council? And one last question. So in our discussions with the Mill Street and this project, the low water level is going to actually encourage the cleanup of the necessary cleanup down the edge of the river. Do you know if there's any? We haven't heard any update on any of that. Do you folks have privy to any update on the contaminations and the cleanup and anything that's going to happen down the edge?
I don't today. I will next week. We're meeting with the department within Department of Environmental Protection, the bureau within Department of Environmental Protection that works with them directly. So I can get an update and bring it back to the council next month if you would like me to.
Yep, and it would be interesting too. I realize the river, it's probably not going to change the level at all right now, but I know in years past we have I don't want to call it a dirty site. We actually have an ongoing cleanup upriver a little bit that's been going on for a long period of time, and from what I've been told, it's going to be ongoing for as long as I'm going to be alive. And I know they've actually dredged that river all the way down to that dam for heavy metals and other contaminants. Are they actually saying that river is actually clean now? There's no more contaminants in it, or on the bottom sediment, or I'm just curious.
A couple of years ago, I think it was 2020 or maybe 2021, the Department of Environmental Protection, again, different bureau because there's a bunch of folks at that agency, went out and did sediment testing directly above the dam for us and confirmed that there were no contaminants in that area. In addition to that, they brought back all the data that they had from the dredging that was done, and this is for the former Maine Electronics facility, and showed sort of where that dredging was done and where the post dredging sampling was done, and confirmed that the same as what they saw at the dam, which is that there are no contaminants above a significant or concerning level.
So a year or so ago, we actually had the people from Maine Electronics come in, and they actually, right now, they're doing continuous pumping and it actually gets put into our local sewer system that gets down and handled at our sewage treatment plant. And they had got permission from the state at that point to dump it straight back into the river because of the process and the water flow. Does that actually change their permit at all because the water flow changes? Or, what's that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, that's what they had stated at the
I
time.
don't think it is now, but anyway.
Yeah. It's not being done right now, but at any point, they actually told us they actually could if they wanted to because of the new permit. But
Yeah. Whether they're doing it or not,
Yeah.
we're not changing the amount of flow that's in the river. So
Okay.
I don't think that it would change that at all.
Okay. I'm just curious. I mean, there's a lot of questions. A lot of odd things happen in that river. You know, when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to go on it because it was 30 below and it wouldn't freeze. You know what I mean? And I'm not really sure if it's different now or not, but, you know, it's one of those things where it's always been a concern. So when it's 30 below and things are still steaming hot, there's usually concerns, right? But
Yeah. Yeah, if it matters, I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of years, and I feel okay.
That's good. You're not glowing or anything, right? At night.
Mr. Chair, can we offer this building as a secondary? Should we have inclement weather?
That's what I was going to mention with the technology. Is it would be it'd be interesting based on the people that return. Maybe the idea of how many people want to be involved, and I mean an outdoor site locally by the dam. I think is great if we if we have appropriate people and they're able to speak to them. But we can use this as an alternative site without a doubt if that's in agreement with you. So.
Absolutely. I mean, if it makes sense too, we could change it entirely and say that first 2 hours will be here, and then we'll move over there for an hour at the site.
That actually sounds like a really good idea. Yeah.
Earlier that day, on the 20th, Fish and Wildlife Service is going to be meeting with the congressional representatives.
Yep.
Can you speak into the mic, sir? Thank you.
Public facilities in case we, like if it's a rain day, that we could.
Right here. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, anytime. Yeah.
Talk to you. Okay. All right.
So as long as it's not,
This room's free that day. So
it is. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then one final piece, just in us moving forward with getting the steps in place but not acting on them yet. We have reached out to contractors for the site to see if we can get a bid. We did get back reasonable bids for the site. In addition to that, I asked for bids for removing the concrete from the Mill Street site, as you've mentioned is an eyesore that people have been concerned about. So we have a bid for that as well. I need to find funding for that specific item, but we do have that, and it costs us around $13,000 or so to remobilize and remove that concrete from the site. I also mentioned that I still need to have permission to set foot back onto that property since it is a private property, so I'll have to obtain that before we get into it. But I want to let you know that I heard your comments on that and happily to move forward on them.
No problem. And again, we're not hard people to work with. We just want to make sure the people we represent are represented. That's all. All right?
Absolutely.
We want to hear your comments.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate you coming in. Next item, please.
Order 2022-154, the council chairman appointment of the ethics panel chair.
And it has actually been, were you able to reach out to Mr. Bowie?
We did reach out to Mr. David Bowie, and he is willing to serve another term.
So David Bowie has actually been a member of a committee for a long time and served on this at this position, and I'd entertain a motion to actually keep him at this position for another year, right?
That's right.
Based.
I'll make that motion.
It's your appointment.
You're right.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I was just
Make the appointment.
then I was just hoping that the council would support it, and if everybody's all supported, we're all set. All right. As much as I am the chair, I do take the recommendations from the council. That's all. So then I'll make that appointment. Thank you.
And the next item is Order 2022-155, the annual reappointments to the town committees per the appointment request memo. That's for the Assessment Review Board, Board of Appeals, Ethics Panel, Finance Committee, Library Governing Board, the Planning Board, the Recreation Committee, and Voter Registration Appeals Boards.
And they're actually all willing?
They are all willing.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? If they are willing, we definitely will take them up on their opportunity.
And they are all 3-year terms. It just happens.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is Councilor Communications.
Well, looky here. Now it's true. I have, as a result of our executive session, 2 motions. And the first one is I'm making a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with the Public Works Teamsters Union. I'd like a second.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
The second motion is to approve the interim town manager's ability to sign contract with Lisbon Emergency.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you very much, Council Fellows. Next item, please. I mean, actually, communications. I am off tonight. So anybody else have anything to add during Council Communications? Everybody all good? I just want to thank everybody who participated in the last weekend's event. It was something new to the community. I think it's, you know, it was really interesting to see that many people and not on Moxie weekend. So, you know, I'd like to thank everybody that participated and actually helped. And he made mention of the gentleman that didn't sit there. They stood there all day doing crosswalk. I mean, he was relentless. I mean, that guy just had it all figured out. And it takes little people like that, not little people, but little jobs like that to make a big part of the community, because that was one of my biggest fears, was that intersection. And he was there all week, all day, and he nonstop made sure everybody got across the road safe. And actually, he probably knows the traffic pattern there better than anybody now. And again, there's a lot of people that made this weekend great like that. So I just want to thank everybody that it was a good success, and hopefully it benefited the businesses, and hopefully we can build on it, because I think it's something that we could really grow and be a yearly event. So, anybody else?
No, I agree. I was there from the start to the finish. Cooked for 8.5 hours, and then I actually got to relax for the last 4, because it lasted to midnight. But trouble-free, as far as I could see, and incident-free. So it was definitely a good event. I, saw people in all the businesses. When I went walking around, they were everywhere. It's good.
Yeah, I met a few people coming in and talked to some people as they were parking and walking up, and there was a couple from outside communities from Auburn, and we just had a brief discussion, but they actually commented how much Lisbon was actually doing stuff. They said it's really impressive to see Lisbon doing what it's doing, and we had it going on. They said that it's definitely, and they're right. I mean, we got a lot of good stuff happening and a good momentum, so hopefully we can keep it moving forward.
I kind of regret that I missed that, but I was
in the box truck.
I was participating. Yeah, in a box truck. I was participating in the Trek Across Maine for the 19th year, and their 38th. I think their 38th time. This is the first time in 3 years since COVID, and so it was a little challenge to get everybody back together again and do it. But I did get pictures from people, our friends that attended the Blues Festival, so they looked like they had a good time.
Even with the cold weather.
Even with we all froze.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good enough. Any other communications? If none, next item, please.
Audience participation and response for new items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues that are not on the agenda. Please use the microphone and state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening. I'm Celine Goddard. I appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you. I reside at 167 Ridge Road in Lisbon Falls, and I am here tonight because I have a big concern in regards to, I reside beside Ed Bush's Bushes, and I brought some pictures. I recently went to the planning board to get a fill permit. My property is in the middle, and Ed's property resides beside it. And this is, I'll leave that with you.
Sure, thank you.
Ed's been expanding. He has a landscape business, which he appears to be doing a nice job. Over the years, he's been cutting trees down, and both my neighbor and I, Ken Fairbanks, that are abutters, have asked him not to be cutting trees and things. And it's gotten to the point that it's escalated that the trees have all been removed at the bottom right-hand portion of my property. I have a daycare there where I have children playing, and I have contractors coming there dumping material. And my concern is, I said, I'll take care of it myself. I'll go get a fill permit, which I did. That's the process. I met with Mark, the code enforcement person. He went out to Ed's because you have to sign off on it, I guess. And when he did, he found some concerns going on at Mr. Bush's, and DEP has gotten involved, and it turns out that Ed is not licensed to be a compost facility person, and the town of Lisbon currently contracts with him and has been dumping their compost waste by tractor-trailer truck over their embankment, and DEP has now shut him down. He has been requested to remove the debris that's there along with some other items. And I guess my concern is, you know, I'm at the point where I'm trying to correct something that I didn't do. Mr. Bush is very angry with me. He was swearing through the woods in front of my daycare children, in front of my mother the other day. I had to call the police. I am not trying to create a hardship. This has been going for a long time. I don't want to step on toes. I'm just trying to correct something that I didn't do and have my privacy back. I paid top dollar to have a beautiful property to raise babies there. I've been working with McGee Construction. I've met several times. They're hoping to have free fill from the Main Street project down the road, which would obviously save me money. It's going to take in excess of 2,000 yards of material to haul back there. I had Rick Mason, a contractor in town, give me an estimate on what it would cost to try to fill that in and plant some trees. I had another contractor give me a price that even if he gave me materials, the trucking would be in excess of $21,000 to $25,000 to haul it based on the price of fuel. It's $125 an hour. So I'm in a situation where it's going to cost me, you know, almost $30,000 by the time I fix my driveway, by the time I haul material, by the time I plant trees to correct something I didn't do. It turns out I spoke to Mark, the code enforcement person, and I asked him if he had a conditional use permit to operate a construction site back there. There are no conditional use permits found from the town for him to be doing what he's doing. And the fact that the town had a contractual agreement and is paying someone who is not licensed, regulated, or monitored through DEP for materials, I find very disturbing. And he's been doing that for at least several years, to the best of my knowledge. He has a nice landscape business. I don't know how it is. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't think in all fairness that if someone like myself has to go in to try to correct something somebody else did, that they're not regulated, they don't have to have permits, they bypass this, they've deceived the town, and in my opinion, that's deceitful. And it creates a hardship. And I'm trying to correct this, and I wanted the council's input or ideas, and I'm trying to recover my property and have tree line put in. And I'm requesting that the town somehow, and I don't know if this can be done, require Mr. Bush to replant trees. He has now, material is dumped over onto the property pen for Mr. Fairbanks and I. Again, I'm not trying to create a hardship. I just like the trees replanted at this point. And this situation is unique, and Mark has been working with me. I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm just trying to do things, in an ethical way and do it. And, I didn't mean to create a hardship for him. I'm just trying to get trees planted. And there's no way that even if he planted trees that we could force him not to cut them down or do something in the future. So I don't know. I'm here, I'm frustrated, and I'm trying to correct a situation that's now going to cost me about $30,000 to fix. So I'm asking the council for direction as to what you think might work best to resolve this as quickly as possible. And it would be my thoughts that requiring him to replant trees would be the easiest. I don't know if that's something this council can do. So that's where I'm at. And I'm a little frustrated, and I'm sorry I didn't want to present it that way, but I have no other. I needed to come to you for guidance. I don't know how to fix this.
All right, but appreciate you coming in. Sorry to make you.
I'll take those pictures back.
Sure. Sorry to make you wait so late. I mean.
No, I appreciate your time. It's just an unfortunate situation.
Unfortunately, as council, we're basically just more checks and balances, so we actually can't make decisions on what happens in personal property or what happens otherwise. The only thing we really can do is direct the town management, town council, and to work with this department heads to actually try to figure out where we're at with it. That's basically the only direction or actually right in the only thing we can do as a council is direct our manager. So
it's been pointed out to us numerous times that we're the legislative body.
Yeah.
We are nothing more than the legislative body and can't take the place of the town manager and his government. That being said, that doesn't mean the town can't do something, but we can't.
Yeah.
Right, and it would be my thoughts that he should, I don't understand why he would not be required to conform to a conditional use permit and is operating. It's one thing to bring material to a site to sell shrubs. It's another thing to operate a construction company on site with no conditional use, no monitoring, and at this point, I'd like for our code enforcement to go there weekly, do a drive-through, make sure that things are where they need to be, and I don't know how to, at this point, do you force someone to get a conditional use permit? Do you, if you look at the magnitude of the site, that was not, he was allowed to get fill years ago when we redid the highway, but the magnitude of what's going on in that operation, I don't understand how it has been allowed to go on without being regulated and monitored. I mean, that's a pretty intensive business, and the fact that he's doing business with the town, it impacts you as all of us. So,
Well, just to
I'm
clarify,
requesting trees.
just to clarify, as soon as I heard about this, that's since stopped, and there's actually another location which is going to be on town property. So, I mean, obviously this is a large, as you said, it's a magnitude. It was just brought forth by the code enforcement officer, which is going to be addressed through the code enforcement office. So really, it's the town's job to rely on the code enforcement officer to regulate that and the use, and then if there's permits that are needed and so on. But on top of that, DEP is involved and is being looked into. So
Right. DEP stated, though, that this is a municipality issue, and it has to be regulated at our end. And so I'm coming to you for guidance and to see if there's any way or
DEP is going to be involved as well. They
Well,
have spoke to code enforcement, and they explained to code enforcement that they will be involved and there will be follow-up. And
I appreciate that. I think you can understand. I mean, I was willing to pay for what I can. If I can get some free material, that would be helpful. But the easiest thing would be to plant trees back there, I think, on his own property. But I can't force anybody to do anything like that.
I'd be happy to meet with you, Selena, as well.
I would love to, and any of you are welcome to walk down on my property as long as I know you're coming. I have daycare, and I can't just let people on site. You are welcome to come there at any time. And at this point, I feel like I've been disrespected, and it's impacted my business, having people swear at me through the woods in front of children. I'm like, if I had done that to his clientele, I can't imagine what he would think had I done that. And I didn't know that he had done anything violated. I'm like, I got a fill permit. Why is everyone mad at me? I don't know. So, but thank you. I'll just have to try to move forward and see if McGee Construction can continue and hopefully not stave up the driveway too bad, hauling material in. And Rick Mason is willing to work with me and try to get that straightened out and plant a tree line if that's the route I have to go. But if you could keep me posted, maybe, if there's anything we can do, to replenish that tree line. That's all I'm looking for, just the borderline to be put back, to have privacy for, the children and what I do. To have, and the thing is that you can hear construction, you can hear the voices because it's all open now. I can hear every conversation with grown men down there looking up at my babies, and I'm like, that wasn't the intent of me moving out there to operate my business. So, but I appreciate this council's time this evening and appreciate all that you do. You come across situations that you're not aware of, and it's hard to have direction and make it a win-win. So thank you. Anything you can do.
I can just attest and say from the time that I was on the planning board and when we visited your property, I can attest that it's a beautiful piece of property and you've maintained it in fabulous condition. So I can understand why you'd be concerned if something was happening to the edge of your property.
It's taken several years, and we've had discussions, and he's just dismissed them. And I don't know any other way except to get a fill permit to try to fill it in myself. And I didn't realize how expensive that was. It's going to be like a 25-foot elevation with probably a 60-foot base. Carl Houston was out there this morning trying to give me an estimate. I'm trying to make it a win-win and figure it out and without creating a hardship, but I just thought, you know what, this is what you guys are here for, to give guidance, and this is what you do. So hopefully we can make some changes and avoid this happening to somebody else.
I'd be more than willing to meet with you and Mr. Bush to see if we can work something. I mean, there's got to be a way. You guys are neighbors. There's got to be a way we can work something out. So if you just want to follow up with Mark, see a day that works, and we'll sit down and see what we can do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anybody else for audience participation for items that were not on agenda? Seeing none, next item, please.
Order 2022-157 to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Thank you very much. Thank Counsel.
Yay.
Oh, ouch.
I would like those.
Thank you. Counselor.
Yeah, you know what?
Okay.
Moratoriums I've seen in the past, like we did the solar. Some sort of emergency.
Yeah, because of the factual basis typically, because you don't want it to get challenged.
Right.